Alright, in this lesson we're going to kind of continue on talking about terrains and some more features that are included with the terrain tools. So first thing, I'm at my terrain desktop at the top. Change this to terrain so I get all my terrain tools, and I'm going to go ahead and just lay down another height field. So I'll hit Control, left click, and then Control G to go ahead and zoom out so we can see our entire height field. I'm going to go ahead and select that and come up to height field noise. Select that to add some noise on top of here. So I'll add that height field noise. And I'm going to turn this grid off so we can get a better look at this. Okay, so here's my height field. Here's my height field noise. We looked about how we could paint or draw our own custom node, our own custom masks earlier. But there are other ways we can add masks, and there's a node called Mask by Feature that allows us to do such a thing. So I could come up and lay it down using Tab in my network view here, or I can come up to my terrain masks and I can use this tool as well. So the one I'm looking at is the height field mask by feature, which is right here. So again, if I have this selected, I can just go ahead and select that, and it'll go ahead and lay that down. And right away, we should have our red mask activated. And if we look over here, let me kind of collapse this in a little bit. If we look at the parameters of this height field mask by feature, there's a lot of different parameters for this, and some different ways that we can kind of turn on and off mask, and how we can mask using these different features, such as slope, by height, by curvature, direction, and occlusion. Okay, so what we're seeing by default here is by slope. Okay, so it takes an angle between 20 and 70, and it masks out any area on our terrain with those parameters. So I can come in here and I can slide this in, or I can slide this out. Maybe I just want the tops here, like so. Maybe I want to, bring that out a little just to get some more peaks, or bring it in. So it's up to you. So this is a nice way you can get a lot of coverage, different areas. Maybe you want some snow on some areas, or some different debris or something like that. You can come in here and mask by slope. You can use a ramp as well to drag this and to get more customizable with your mask here. Okay. Another one, if we come down, I'm going to turn that off. Mask by height. And again, we can mask by the height of our terrain here. And by default, it's 0 to 1. But if we hit this compute range, it's going to compute our entire range of our terrain. So from the very bottom, which here is negative 62.9691, to the very top of our terrain, which is 84.6028. Okay, so it's always a good idea if you see a compute range button to go ahead and hit that, because it'll compute the entire range of your terrain, and then you can kind of customize it from there. So now I can come back down in either my height ramp or my sliders here. So maybe I want to bring this in a little bit, and I can adjust this down. So now I'm really getting the top parts here and kind of feathering off as it gets down into my deeper valleys down here. So I can mask that way. Can bring this in a little bit. Sorry, let's bring it out if I want to adjust that. If I want to bring this down, maybe get the very top peaks, I can do something like that. Bring that up to cover that peak. Okay. So however you want to do that, you can do that by height. Okay. So if I turn that off, the next one is mask by curvature. So let me turn that on. Again, I'm going to compute range, and the curvature is a way to measure the kind of areas, the peaks and the deep valleys of your terrain here. So it captures that curvature. And again, I like compute by range, and then I can come in here with my slider and move this in, move this Let's bring that up a little so we can catch more of the peaks. So we can really capture all the kind of peaks, the details of our terrain, in case you want to use those later on for, again, some debris, or maybe where the wind is eroding, so we can use the masks for that as well. Okay. So that's masked by curvature. Let's come down. We got masked by direction. And again, we have our goal angle. So if I start bringing this around, it'll go ahead and really just spin my mask around based on the direction. And if I want this angle to be bigger, I can just bring this up to capture more of the area. And again, I can you can see how it's changing the direction. So again, maybe I have let me bring some of this down. Bring that up actually. So again, maybe the sun has come up on this side, and it melted a lot of the areas that the sun is facing. So maybe these masks are melted areas where on this side the snow is staying. Okay, so we can really get some nice detailed masks that way with direction. Okay, so that's masked by direction. The last one here is masked by occlusion. Let's see. So here, again, just another way we can kind of mask depending on what we want to capture here. So we can capture kind of, again, more detail this way as well. So a lot of options to get a lot of different masks and to mask off a lot of areas without having to manually come in here and draw or paint. You can use this mask by feature to really help that out. Okay. Now, when you mask, if I middle mouse click this, you can see that we have our height, but it adds this mask field here as well. Okay. And we can clear this. So if I hit tab, if I do HF, look at all my height field, and if we look at the mask clear, okay, there's one here, or the shelf tool, there's one up here. So I can just select this, I can do mask field clear, and what it'll do is it'll target my mask here and it'll just clear it out. So if I hover over this, we'll still see it because it's always going to exist, but the data is no longer there. Okay, so if I need to clear out a mask, we can use that mask node. We're going to talk more about that during class. So, but that's used to get rid of masks. Let me get rid of this. We can also blur masks out. So I'm going to come here and turn this mask by occlusion off. I'm going to turn mask by slope back on. So maybe this is what I like, but maybe it's too sharp. Maybe I want to kind of feather it and blur it out. So again, if I select this, and I come back up to height field mask blur right up here. If I click that, you can see right away it lays it down and starts blurring and feathering out my mask. And I can increase this with this radius option. If I start increasing this, it'll blur it out even more or bring it back to sharpen it up. So however I want to use it to kind of blur and feather it if I don't want that mask to be super sharp. Okay. So that's mask blur. And the last one I want to look in this video is the noise mask node. So I'm going to get rid of this mask by feature node, and I'm going to go ahead and click on my height field noise. And if I come up here to where is it? Height field mask noise. If I click that, it's going to go ahead and lay down my height field mask noise. And basically what this is just adding noise just like we do. But it'll use that noise as a mask. Okay, so I can go ahead and increase this amplitude. If I want my element size, I can bring this down. Maybe I want smaller patches of noise, offset, and then my different noise types again. So we've seen these. So depending on what I want here, and my other parameters here that we've seen. Okay, so this is really great if we want to maybe just kind of add some random noise to mask off areas, just to give it more more features, and we can we're going to look at this later on during class, but where we can layer up noises and masks to really get a kind of a full-fledged terrain that we're happy with. So that's all I want to talk about in this lesson. There's going to be more that we're going to talk about in class that has to do with terrains and masks and all that kind of stuff. But that's where I want to end here. We will see you in the next one.